bro, why have I just become conscious of the fact that I actually have a podcast and I've given myself the ick? Like, who do I think I am? Recording weekly, editing, posting. Like, I'm just making myself feel a little bit sick, like posting on YouTube. I have a Spotify account, being like, guys, what's your opinion on this? What's your opinion on that? I'm just giving myself the ick, guys. And I'm like, now I'm aware that I have to stop giving people my Instagram, because they're gonna see my Instagram, see the @ in my bio, click on Glorified Jist, go on the link in the Glorified Jist bio, see the YouTube channel, be like, who does this girl think she is of like these 10 views? And they're gonna get the ick. Like, and I know I shouldn't care about what other people think, but I'm just thinking, if I was on the other end, like, say, guys, I see this guy, he's attractive, he talks to me, we exchange social media, I see that he's got an @ in his bio, and I see it's a podcast and like 10 people are watching, would that give me the ick? I'm not gonna lie, it would. I'm not gonna lie, it would, and that's bad. That's bad. I don't know why content gives me such a different feeling than business. Like, if someone, and this is like whether it's a guy who I'm interested in or even like, I don't know, a new friend or whatever, if they have an @ for a business page in their bio and I go on the business page and it's really new, I'd be like, cool, do your thing, like you're building something. But all of a sudden, when it's like someone's trying to be like a content creator or someone's got a podcast, why is it like ill? And I'm saying that as someone who has a podcast. I wouldn't be mad if I gave anyone the ick, because I'd probably be like, yeah, I hear it. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. But before that, hi guys, welcome to the latest episode of the Voicenote. The Voicenote are the minisodes that go alongside Glorified Jist bi-weekly. These episodes are not structured, they're just me talking about whatever's on my mind, giving the audience a little personal insight into a day in the life or week in the life of Janelle and her thoughts. Guys, I've been having like a lot of negative self-talk the past week, and I think it's because I'm in the luteal phase and gearing up to be on my period. And when I'm in that phase, like, I hate everyone and I hate myself. And I don't know why. Like, has anybody else experienced that as you've gotten older, your period symptoms have changed? Like, when I was younger, I remember having like bad period pains and I remember being in a bad mood on my period. But I don't remember like the luteal phase bothering me. Or maybe it did, but we just didn't have the language or the understanding yet. But now, when I'm in my luteal phase, I am a terrible person to myself and to other people. Like, the thoughts I've been having, I'm like, yeah, you ain't shit, girl. You ain't shit. You're a failed podcaster. Nobody's listening to you. You suck. You suck. You suck. Like, you're never going to be anything in this life. And that's not even just podcast related. That's beyond it. But like, I'm having such negative self-talk. And it happens to me every single month. Sometimes I'm like, do I have PMDD? I don't think so, because I think PMDD is when you go to the point of wanting to like yourself, which I don't have that on my period. It's just like, I don't know. The only thing that saves me is I'm starting to recognize a pattern of like, okay, what time of the month are we in? Like, why do I feel this way? And then usually once my period actually starts, it goes away. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that Red River because I'm tired of talking to myself this way. Yeah, I also think that because it's Lent, we spoke about this in the last episode of Glorified Jist, because it's Lent and I've basically given up everything, no takeaway, no sweets, no crisps, no cake, no pastries, I'm not able to satisfy the cravings I have, like the cravings for sweetness or for junk or for like heavy food. And I think it's putting me in an even worse mood than probably usual. Like, I've given up so many different things for Lent, but say for example last year I gave up chicken, but say I needed to order food and I was on my period, I could have just ordered like a beef burger or something, so it wasn't the end of the world. Whereas this year, feeling like I can't have anything basically, well, that's not healthy. I'm just like, but I don't want that, and it's really it's really getting to me. And I've never had a period where I've not been able to satisfy a craving in some way. Like, last night, to have something sweet, I had to have like a bowl of cereal, and what did that do? Nothing. I nearly folded yesterday. I nearly opened up that Uber Eats and ordered it all. I was about to order from 6 different places, but I didn't. I persevered and I'm happy about that. But yeah, I haven't been feeling good. I've been feeling shitty about myself, feeling ugly as well. Oh my god, which again is something normal for me in the luteal phase. I'm sure it's scientifically proven that we actually look different as women in our luteal phase, but I'll just be looking at myself like, bruh, You got to do something about that. To the point I took out my hair. I took out my hair because the regrowth was irritating me. Like, it was all over the place. My hair was sliding out in some parts. Even editing the podcast, last week's podcast with Jason, the episode's called The Black Fatigue, I was just looking at my double chin and I was just like, oh. And the fact is that I actually looked really pretty in the episode. It's just that I'm putting out the things that are like not perfect, and that's not good. So yeah, but I guess the only positive is that this has been the first period where I haven't broken out like around my chin area. I usually get whiteheads when my period's due, and I'm not bloated. So I guess that's because I'm not eating crap. But does that mean I have to continue? Because if that's the case, we're going to have a problem. But speaking of Lent, last week's episode, we spoke about religion. Guys, what are your thoughts? What did you think of the episode? I feel like the engagement in terms of comments were a lot lower than usual. And I think that's because when it comes to religion and black people, we tend to get real silent. I think especially when we're in the West and when we have the privilege of certain experiences, certain levels of education and stuff, and you can have thought and critical thinking beyond just what you've been taught, it puts you in a weird place, you know. And I understand why people will be like, I don't know what exactly to say about this. I'm just figuring out where I sit as someone who truly loves the Lord, but also is a feminist, for example. We should actually talk about that, guys, because I had a conversation with someone a couple of days ago who I feel like did hear me out, and this person was a stranger. How did the conversation start? So it started because they're in a relationship, I'm single, and they were basically asking me if I feel like I'm ready for a relationship. And I was saying how I kind of feel like I've learned, not all that I can learn, but I feel like there's certain things you learn when you're single, and there's certain things that will come out when you're in a relationship, and they show you versions of you that are not like healed, or where you have work to do and things like that, right? And so we were kind of talking about that, and I was saying that I feel like I've learned a lot of the things that I feel like I can learn in a romantic sense, but in an individual level. Hopefully that makes sense. She's a Christian, and she was saying that although she's in a relationship, she's not married, like she's dating someone, biblically it's better to be single, because that's where you can devote yourself to God more and to yourself more, and just have the time to not have to worry about another person. And that when you spend time in your single season, when God sends you your person, you'll truly be ready and stuff, right? And then I was telling her that I'm not necessarily dating for marriage. Like, I'm not against it, but you guys have heard me say this several times now, like I believe in dating for myself and for my own personal experiences. And when I meet someone, I'm not necessarily vetting them in terms of could this be my life partner, but more, does this fit my season? What can I learn from this person? What do they bring out in me? And is that somebody I want to be with at the moment, right? And that's how the conversation started. But that led us onto a conversation about premarital sex, because I was saying that in not dating for marriage, but not necessarily wanting to be abstinent, it leaves me in a weird place in terms of religion, because I know what the word says about premarital sex, but then I know my personal desires and what I want to do. And I was explaining to her how I had dated someone, and me and this person, we slept together, but we didn't sleep together often. Like, in the period of time that we dated, I could probably count on one hand, maybe a hand and a half, how many times you had sex. And that wasn't because of religion or anything. It was just, let's just say, logistics, right? But how in dating that person, I had realized how important sex was to me, and how I know that going forward, I mean, this could change in years, but where Janelle is at today, going forward, when I date someone, if I'm serious about dating this person, or even if I'm not serious about dating this person, sex is something that I feel like is important to me and needs to be part of like the dating process. But beforehand, and partially this was when I was more like religious, but also just I think me as a person before, I didn't see it as a big deal. It wasn't until I was dating someone and sex wasn't like a big part of the relationship that I was like, oh, I think I need that. And you know what, yeah, I'm so happy I recorded the last episode, because I feel like it's given me the courage to be open with people who are religious about my religious questioning and perspective, and not shy away from it. Because I mean, we all talk about sex with our hoe friend, like that's a given, right? But I think I'm going to stop shying away from these sort of conversations with people who are religious, because I think that is how I'm going to come to my conclusion about how I truly feel and how I really want to live my life, right? And so yeah, they basically say that, I mean, they're not perfect and that they do engage in premarital sex, but they're more in a process of asking God to prune them and their relationship, so that they no longer so that they can have the strength to abstain until marriage, right? And so then we start talking about her relationship, and she says that she's been with this person for a while, and that they've had a lot of bickering about, I guess, like unimportant things, to the point where she felt really anxious in her relationship, and then they ended up breaking up. Guys, low-key, why they broke up is really juicy, but I don't know if I can. You never know who's going to find it, right? It had something to do with an ex being present in a certain thing. She didn't do anything wrong, I'll say that. I said she. Did I genderize this person before? Oh well. Oh well. Hopefully they don't hear, and if they do, I'm so sorry. I need the content. But yeah, they broke up because her partner wasn't happy about a certain situation, which from my perspective wasn't bad at all. But she says during this breakup time, she felt really, really at peace. Obviously, for me, I'm hearing that, I'm thinking that's great. And then she says that shortly after the breakup, they get back together. They've been in a relationship for about 2 months now, and she feels like God has brought them back together through things like Bible study, prayer, and even dreams they've had about one another. But she's still confused about whether or not it's the right thing to do. Now, I know I'm on a journey of figuring out where I sit in terms of faith, but one thing I know about the Lord is that He is not an author of confusion. Maybe if you're in the church, you know that for a fact. That's one of the first things they tell you. The Lord is not a author of confusion, right? That's what they tell you biblically, and that's actually something I believe to be true. And there's many biblical examples of how God will give somebody peace even in the most like disturbing rough phases of their life. And so if you're in a breakup and you feel at peace, and then you go back to someone who you feel like God has told you to go back to, but then you feel confused, baby, I don't think the Lord's telling you to do that. And I am truly against the suffering of women in the name of things like purity and perseverance and looking like a good woman. And I think that in the church, more than the word, but in the church, when there's a pressure on getting married because your peers around you are getting married, and when you start to age, even though I would not describe this person as old at all, but they are older than me, and I think in a church perspective, they're at the age of people start saying, baby, where's your husband, right? and looking at that pressure and seeing how it can make people, or women more than people, choose to be in situations that they aren't truly happy or at peace in. For perfect example, but they feel like maybe God has told them to persevere, or maybe they look at other couples in the church and what they've has had to suffer through and believes that maybe that's just part of it. Like I'm really, really against that. But I also believe that God is against that. You know, I feel like if God will give you peace in the wilderness, then if you don't feel peace with your partner, then that is the number one sign that I don't think God is telling you to do that. And I think more emphasis on things like marriage and procreation and like two becoming one and stuff and being fruitful than there is on like, how do you feel in your heart? And do you not feel like God loves you enough to give you peace and clarity rather than confusion? Like, why are we not paying more attention to that? You know, we had quite a long conversation, and it's funny because it switched from her kind of talking to me about my faith journey to then me low-key preaching to her about, I don't think the Lord is telling you to do that, and if you're going into prayer and fasting, that needs to be your focal point. So I'm like, the Lord is still with me, you know, the Lord is still with me. I'm on a journey. But yeah, in the end, she told me I'm going to hell. It's not funny. I should laugh at things like that. Not in a bad way, but she did tell me I was going to, but she did say she'd be right behind me if we don't change our ways. And I told her she should probably think about leaving that man. So that's where that conversation went. But it was a good conversation. Yeah. But something else I did want to talk about, if we're sticking on the subject of love and dating, is whether or not you can tell when a man doesn't like you. Do you think you can tell when a man doesn't like you? And the reason I ask this question is because I'm currently watching Love is Blind season 10, and there's a couple called Devonta and Brittany, and he hates that woman. He hates her, and it's like she can't see it. They have like a good dynamic in the pods, and then when he meets her, he basically talks about the fact that he's never dated a person of color. Bear in mind, his name's Devonta, so this man ain't white himself, right? He's mixed race. Quite fair skin, to be honest, but curly hair. Like, he looks like a mixed person. And when I tell you guys, go and Google her. Brittany is gorgeous. She is gorgeous, and this guy's got a big bully beef belly. Like, he is punching, right? But he makes a point to mention how he's only ever dated white women and stuff. So you already know the vibe from that. But like, he never compliments her. And there's scenes where she brings up the fact that he never compliments her, and she's like, but I just have to accept that you're not that kind of person. Huh? What are we talking about here? He also said that sometimes he likes to go ghost and like not communicate. And days leading up to their wedding, he says that she should expect, a day where he goes completely ghost, that his phone will probably be off, that he'll have no communication with her. And when she's asking him, are you saying that you don't think we're going to make it down the aisle and that you're questioning it? He's like, well, I'm 98% sure that I want to marry you. But he's stuttering. It's like, baby, you are lying. You're lying. But what's so scary to see is how she just accepts what he says under the guise of love. Like, she's willing to commit to a man for the rest of her life who won't even compliment her. Knows that she doesn't like it, by the way, but is still saying, yeah, I'll ride it out. What are we talking about here? And don't get me wrong, a lot of the onus is on the man, on Devonta, because he should absolutely be communicating and saying, I don't feel like you're for me, you're a great person, but I'm just not maybe attracted to you. But also, as a woman, baby, have your wits about you. I feel like you should be able to tell when a man doesn't like you, or have signs that you look out for in yourself that's like, if a man doesn't do X, then I don't feel like he likes me enough and I'm not going to date you. Having dated someone who wasn't that complimentary early on in like my day in life, I now refuse to date anyone who isn't complimentary. Like, anyone who says things like, oh yeah, when it comes to compliments and that, oh, I'm not really like that, but just know that I think you're cool in it, or I do like, nah, I'm not going for that. Sorry, no. When a guy's like, oh yeah, I might take a day or two to reply, but it don't mean nothing. Not going for that. When a guy's like, oh yeah, I don't believe in getting into a committed relationship until I've been talking to someone for a year. Get away from me. Get away from me right now. One thing about me, I run a strict program. I'm not going for any of that, because I think you're lying. I think for the right woman, you would do all of those things, and you're just not willing to do that right now. Whether it's because of the phase of life you're in, or whether it's because you just don't like me that much. Whatever the reason is, to be honest, I don't give a fuck. I don't care what the reason is, but me personally, I'm not going for that. And that's why there's so many +44s in my phone. Because the moment you give me a sign like that, I'm like, oh, yeah, guts to go. And that's why I also have a rule, guys. I don't save men's number until after the first date. I don't save men's number until after the first date, because I need to, first of all, in the texting process, you're probably going to show me something weird, and then I'm like, I'm glad I haven't saved your number. I'm not talking to you. We probably won't even get to the first date anyway. And for the guys that we do get to the first date, I like to see how you operate in the first date and what your early opinions and views are on certain things, and then I'll decide if I want to save your number afterwards, because I'm saving myself the admin time. Because I think if a guy reveals questionable things about him on the first date, I'm not gonna then continue to date you. I remember going on a date with this guy one time, and I asked him about Andrew Tate. I can't remember how we got in the conversation, and he was like, oh yeah, I kind of agree with some of the things he says. Oh, you ain't never seen me again? What? Like, I really don't play around. I invested a lot of time into somebody once, and I'm never doing that again unless it absolutely makes sense for me. But you know what, yeah? Sometimes, because I run such a strict program, I wonder if I'm missing out on the fun sides of dating. Even though I've got bare stories, we should run them down one day. But I do have quite a lot of funny stories. But I wonder if I'm missing out on like the 3-month guy, or like the crazy guy who you would never date but you'll never forget. Like, I'm wondering if I'm going to look back and be like, oh, I should have just did more things for the plot maybe. But then I watched things like Love is Blind and Love Island. So yeah, you know what? I'm actually glad that I decided to record today, because like I said, I've not been feeling good in myself, and I was low-key like, fuck it, they ain't getting no episode this week. But I persevered. So thank you for listening, and I'm glad I recorded, because there's obviously no episode next week. So it's like, instead of giving you guys a 2-week break and you're not forgetting about me, let me just do the last voice note for now. And yeah. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think of this episode. I'm gonna need you lot to interact a little bit more. Like, get in the comments, like, share. Even if you're my friend, quite a few of my friends have been messaging me, telling me, oh yeah, it was a good episode, I like this. Put it in the comments this week, please. Put it in the comments. If you want to give me a detailed review, of course, message me. My cousin actually has something set up called The Reply, where she sends me voice notes that are like 12 minutes long about my episodes, which I love. But if it was a good episode, put it in the comments. If you have an opinion that you want to share, put it in the comments. Yeah, let's get this engagement up, guys. And yeah, let's increase the views a bit, so when people check my bio, I don't give them the ick. But yeah, there'll be no episode next week. We're taking a 1-week break, so we'll be back on Tuesday the 24th of March for episode 6. It's a full episode, and we'll be reading out the confessions, so you're gonna want to tune in, because pillow talk is becoming a real thing now, guys. Like, we're getting into it. Until then, guys, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. If you've listened to all 10 episodes now, because we have 5 full episodes and 5 minisodes, thank you so much. I appreciate the support so much, and I look forward to chatting with you guys again. Bye.